Yeah, that was it. Thanks a lot. Like, I don't know much more to say than that. I see a lot of faces over here that I probably wouldn't know without Attainable. And on behalf of all the Attainable staff, from every band that played this like amazing 2 days, for everyone that's ever played Attainable, good and bad, anyone who's come out to shows, anyone who's really given a you know, and like it's just really nice to like see people that care about it. And you know what? We're not the end of it. Local is gonna exist always, and we just have to keep that going.
I'm not sure if the layman, for lack of a better word, has a real grasp on how much work it is and how draining it can be. And that's not really anyone's fault, but it's definitely a misconception that because you're running an art space, that it's all smiles and laughs and easy, cool runnings. When I went into the venture of Attainable specifically, my goal was always, as an artist, to give back to the artists as much as humanly possible. But there's always that little asterisk at the end of give back to the artists as much as humanly possible, where it is followed by we have to keep things running and operational and happy.
The financial mechanics of venues don't work. They don't work on any level. They don't work on a level when you're selling booze. They don't work on a level when you're not selling booze. The economy of music on a local scale is flawed. It's inherently flawed. And art is a false economy. It's something that everyone loves and no one will pay for. I had a friend when I was growing up in Cape Breton. He booked this great bar. And when I was going to shows there, shows cost $5. And then in about 2008, he bumped $5 to $6. And everyone freaked out. And everyone's like, $6? You want me to give you $5 and a loon? And he's like, yeah, like everything else, inflation constantly goes up. But you're not willing to pay $6 for music.
Most people have no idea how expensive it is. The whole culture of like, it seems that sometimes it's just cooler not to pay for things that you say that you love and need and want. That's something that I would like to see shift a little bit. It's really difficult. It's very challenging to keep that festival alive year after year. Like, it's seriously always like how we're gonna do on that edition could be the make or break of like, are we gonna be back next year?
You know, we all need to live and we all need to work, and a lot of these jobs, it's very hard to get any kind of payment. And a lot of us are doing it because it's what we're passionate about, but that doesn't pay my rent. And if I'm gonna be a full-time student or work, I can't do the not-for-profit and the art stuff as much.
I had shows at Wonder Bar where, like, if I went through some of the numbers, some of them were absolutely shocking. Like shows where I had 110 people and my ring out at the end of the night was $300. And like the average person spent $3. That's hard to believe. You know what I mean? Like that means most people, because I know I sold a couple people more than one beer, which means a ton of people came and spent $0. I think people have to make a point to, and I try to do this now, like if I don't have a ton of money, but if I have money and I'm going to a show and the cover's $10, I'll pay $20 because if I can afford to, I should.
So I'd love to see more of the community just really investing themselves in the spaces that do exist, making those ones better, making sure they're being used to the full capacity they can be. Because I think if we keep pumping up more venues, but all of us are struggling, you know, every 3 to 5 years, we'll just have a couple of them shut down and they'll start up again. And I'd rather people to do it better together than everyone do something on their own and struggle.
Now that I'm older and I'm starting to see there's really not much for the youth to do. If they want activities, they have to go off the reserve. If they want to see an event, they have to go off the reserve. So maybe if they see someone playing music who's really enjoying it, and they see that, well, maybe I'll do that, and that would be the alternative from going down the path of like drinking every weekend, getting into drugs.
People wanted to come together to support Indigenous artists, but that platform wasn't there. And I just came along at the right time. I talked to a lot of Indigenous artists, and we always say that this is the most exciting time to be in Indigenous musician, because everybody is kind of jumping on the train that we need to support. It's an era of reconciliation, and if we don't support Indigenous artists, then where do we stand in that, you know?
We want to do Flip so that we can bring our politics in, so that we can have a fun weekend. Because that in itself is a privilege, to go through an entire festival and to just have a good time. It's really hard if you're the only female, femme, gender non-conforming act and everyone else is male, and then the crowd is mostly dudes too. It's just hard to feel like it's a space for you.
There's a lot more people who feel more comfortable reaching out to me to do a show because they don't feel like, okay, it's a guy putting on a show of all guys. How do I fit into that space? Do I fit into that space? I want people who don't think that there is room for them to know that they should come, and that there is.
So yeah, I hope our legacy is just that we can create a foundation where people in the future can make it even better, you know? Because we have work to do, you know?
I feel like there will always be people who make things happen. Like that's the pattern of the whole DIY culture. People are resourceful and they make do with what they have when they just want to see things happen.
It was under my own personal will to start my business, to do this for the community. It wasn't business that pushed me into it. It was my own personal will that I seen a void here in Calgary that needed to be filled, and I took it upon myself to do it.
Ultimately, I wanted to start Attainable so that people could feel like they were getting their artistic release and they could really embrace who they wanted to be without the confines of trying to adjust to what like society or the scene would be, and they could just live their artistic truth.
And it's cool seeing everybody kind of get together and, you know, grow, essentially, just as people, as musicians, like so many talented people, and being lucky enough to have the job where I get to sit behind the bar, stand behind the bar, and watch all this happen around me. That's perfect.
When you watch someone else sacrifice everything and you think you can do something to help, to not sacrifice a bit yourself is crazy. Like, that's the most selfish thing in the world. Everything that's been really important, every community I've looked at that has done something genuinely important has done it themselves, and that's awesome. If you feel like there's nobody looking out for you, if you feel nobody's giving you press for the things you're doing, if no one's listening, then you find a way to do a show and you find a way to scream as loud as you can. And that's generally how things get created, I found, you know?